My old man says to me, David, you got to learn how to work hard, son. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, do the right thing, keep your nose down, work to the grindstone, boy. I was up to about 120 hours a week trading my time for other people's money because that's what my dad told me to do. I transitioned from a blue collar mentality, letting somebody else determine my value. And that day I learned that my value is what I designated it to be.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg. I'm your host, Steve Rozenberg, as I'm sure many of you know. Got the name behind me, so it's pretty easy to figure that out. But this show is all about bringing on different people, different industries, different environments, and definitely different backgrounds. But kind of getting to know them and understanding who they are, what they do, what makes them tick. I know a lot of podcast shows talk about everybody wants their awards out on the table and what they've done. But for those of you that watch my show, I do it a little bit different. So Dave, thanks for being on today, brother. Appreciate it, man.
No, Steve, thanks for having me on. I love the green room chat, right? I love walking into one of these and it's like, you want to get down and dirty, right? Do you want to open up the closet? Let me take a peek up the kimono, as we would say. And the older I got, other people's opinions of me are none of my business. So that's a cool place to be, I think, right? It's a nice freeing experience to be able to have a chat based around that. So bring it on, baby. Let's play. I'm good.
Awesome, brother. Awesome. So, well, first of all, tell everyone, give the 30-second flyby of who you are, what you do, and that kind of thing, and then we can dive into this.
Yeah, primarily private equity. I've had a pretty long journey from my working for somebody else days to entrepreneurship to be in a position today where we're deploying private equity capital primarily into multifamily assets, repositioning, ground up construction. We move a lot of money. We try and pay back a lot of money. So it's a finance world today, but I love what I do. And we also teach people how to do it as well through multifamily investing. So that's the short version. Yeah.
And I saw in your accolades, you got some TV shows, you got some news channels, all that cool stuff. But let me ask you this, right? If I asked who you were without the resume, who are you?
That's a great question. I'm a man of Christ.
Right out of the gate. Look at that, brother. Right out of the gate, I'm asking him.
Absolutely. I'm a man of Christ. I'm a father to some incredible boys, the husband to a rock star wife, and I'm also 35 years sober alcoholic. So those are my claims to fame, and it starts upstairs first from him through the people around me. That's who I am.
Yeah. I love that. Well, let me ask you this: on your journey, right? Everyone's on a journey. It's kind of like I think of all of us as kind of like a shark, right? We don't stop. We just continue swimming, right? We continue being on our journeys in life. I don't think we have a destination. When we leave this life, we'll probably go on and have another journey. In this journey, it sounds like you've had some colorful moments in your life.
Oh yeah.
What are some things that like nobody claps for, but things that actually pivotably changed you and who you were?
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. I love this right out of the gate. You the man. So, I came from England originally, right? I come from a blue collar background, and my dad's still alive. God bless him, 83. And when I came to the States at 20 years old, it was marrying my first wife, who was an American. And coming from that blue collar background, I'll sum it up the way my old man gave it to me, Steve. You might like this little piece here. You ready? My old man says to me, David, you got to learn how to work hard, son. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, do the right thing, keep your nose down, right? Work to the grindstone, boy. And by the time you're 55, 60 years old, you might just about have enough money to retire. You might not. You might. Probably won't have enough money to buy a house. But, God willing, you'll have a woman who loves you and you'll be all right. And that was it. That was a financial blueprint that was ingrained in me all the way back. So when you look, my accent comes out when I talk about my dad. So when you bring, it's funny, right? So when you bring that to this world, it causes some challenges. So you're asking for pivotal moments. So for me, a pivotal moment was it was just leading towards the big crash, right? The meltdown and the subprime meltdown in real estate. I'd work my ass off. I know how to work hard. I was up to about 120 hours a week trading my time for other people's money because that's what my dad told me to do. So I was a firefighter and a paramedic working in the city of Lynn, Massachusetts. Freaking loved that job, bro. Loved it. Working construction on my days off. I ran a small construction company. I was the last one to get paid if there was any money left. And then nights and weekends, I'm working retail security, right? Pot roast police, working in a grocery store and a department store, trying to just make ends meet. Now, the reason I give you that context is because what that does is I paid a price for that. Lack of connectivity to my wife, lack of connectivity to my faith. Closest I ever came to picking up a drink in 35 years was around that period of time. There was some dark days, and they were by my own ignorance, right? It was nobody told me to spend more money than I earned. Nobody told me to keep up with the Joneses. Nobody told me the difference between good debt and bad debt. Nobody told me that leverage is a good thing, not a bad thing. I never learned any of those. My old man said to me, you need a credit card, David, for emergencies. Keep it in your top drawer and don't use it. But he didn't tell me how much an emergency would cost me. So you're getting the picture, Steve, right? This is what I grew up in, like many, many, many others.
Sure.
So I'm losing my house during a crash. I'd refinanced it a couple of times because somebody said to me, Dave, you're a firefighter. You're a good guy. You can take out 110% of your home's value. Think about it, Dave. It's going to be great. You could buy
deserve it.
I deserve it. Dave. I run into burning buildings, Steve. I save people's lives. Here, let me save your financial life, said the predator at the door. And, I took his advice. I'll never forget this son of a gun too, brother. He looked me right in the eyes. He said, Dave, you can get a new car, put some money down. You get a new big screen TV. You deserve it. The wife's going to love you for it. And I'm like, yeah. And I don't, no money down. I could just take all this money out of the house. Yeah. Until the house is in foreclosure, right? In pre-foreclosure. And I'm losing my house. Anyway, I'm sitting down at Lynn Beach, the city I worked in. We got about a 1.5 mile strip of coastal. And I'm a broken dude, man. I really am. I'm a broken man. I've worked my ass off. Nothing's going the way I want it to go. And I start rumbling with my big guy upstairs. And I'm like, I'm having some serious words with God, like he's sitting next to me in the driver's seat of the truck. Sure. And I'm cussing, bro. I'm cussing. I'm like, I'm losing my house. I got kids at home. The tension in the marriage is just brutal. And I'm asking for help. And this was it. This was a divine intervention, a pivotal moment for me as a human being. I'm screaming at him. I want answers. I don't hear anything. Maybe a wave would crash over the seawall and I'd hear him that way, or a bolt of light. Like I wanted something freaking biblical, bro. I deserved it. I worked hard, right? Nothing. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'm just going home and telling Mary Beth we got to sell the house. I turn the ignition on in the truck, right? And I listen to news radio, and there's a commercial. That second, I turn it on. Commercial comes on the radio. Teach Me Foreclosure, a free 1.5 hour seminar coming in your neck of the woods. Learn how to do real estate investing with no money down. And I'm like, I'm thinking there's like a hidden camera moment going on in my truck. And I broke down, brother. I cried. I said, ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock on the door will be opened. Well, he opened that door. And that's what started it for me. That was that pivotal moment where I transitioned from a blue collar mentality, right? Letting somebody else determine my value. Think about that for a second. Somebody else says, Steve, you work as a pilot. Somebody else, your union determines how much money you're worth, right? Your union does. My union in the fire department determined my value. The customers that I worked in construction with determine my value. And that day I learned that my value is what I designated it to be. What can I bring to a marketplace to enhance it, to better it? Can I put people before profits? Real estate is sticks and bricks. It's a beautiful tool in which to create some independence. And I went home to I went home to Mary Beth. I'm like, baby, I got the answer. God, talk to me. You could see her. She's a little French Canadian, 5'2", 110 pounds, soaking wet. And you can see her going, oh no, what is this guy doing now? I said, we're going to be real estate investors. She's like, you're out of your trees. But she stood by me and we started that journey. So I never looked back. That's really what changed the trajectory financially for my family, but also mentally. Think about this. Now I've changed that mindset, that generational mindset, that generational input that have been given to the working class Londoners that my father was a part of, you know? So I'm a blessed guy, brother. That's it. Pivotal moment, number one.
No, that's good. So let me ask you, the Dave right before that time to the Dave, we'll just say of today, what do you think was the belief pattern that had to change of who you were? You know, because listen, I think you and I both agree that bad things happen to good people. And
sure.
you can't there's no justification. And we can blame, right? We can blame all day long. At some point, we've got to take responsibility for it, you know, and what in you changed to kind of go, okay, I got to own this and I got to fix this.
Yeah. You know, pain is an incredibly good motivator, brother.
Yeah.
It really is. Pain is a great motivator. You know, in my non-drinking club, we always say that booze will be the final convincer, right? Pain, drugs, alcohol, they will be the convincers. And if you think about what I just described to you, that is look, it's a no-win situation. It's a no-win situation. There's no exit ramp in 120 hours a week of work and a house in pre-foreclosure and a wife and two small children at home. There's no exit ramp there. So I had to create an exit ramp. And here's the magic. And if anybody can hear anything from me in this conversation with you today, hear this. You are not unique. You're not special. You're not special. Yes, you fly commercial aircraft. That's pretty freaking special, dude. That's pretty cool. I ran into burning buildings. Some people might say that's special. That's pretty cool. But you know what? The way that I react, right? The way that I interact with the world around me is what really creates a special moment. So what I mean by that, we said this, I think I said it just now, or we said it before we started. You know, other people's opinions of me are none of my business. And the day that I really believed that in my core was the day that things changed for me. It really did change for me. And what I began to see is I did a little research, man. I gave up contempt prior to investigation. Oh, that doesn't work. Well, how do you know, Bob? I don't know. I heard it doesn't work. Did you try it, Bob? No, I didn't try it. Then how do you know it doesn't work, Bob? Right? Like what you think about, you bring about. Henry Ford. If you think you can and you think you can't, you're right. So I had a modicum driven by pain. I had a modicum of openness to hear how to change my trajectory. Guy said to me one time, always use the acronym of HOW. How do you create wealth? How do you create a change? Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness. If I can deploy those in any confrontational moment as I move forward, I get to do pretty good. Be honest about where I am, what it is that I'm doing. Be open to opportunities and change. And when I see those opportunities, stop procrastinating. I need to think about it a little more. No, you donkey, do it. Be willing to try. And when I committed to that, things started to change for me. And I read, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read all the real estate books. And brother, I got pissed. I got pissed when I realized that, my good government pension was choking me. It wasn't helping me, right?
Yeah.
It wasn't helping me. When Wall Street's got their hand in my pocket, they're winning every time. It might only be 50 bips, but they're always taking money from me. And I learned to take back control of all that stuff.
So let me ask you this. If you did not choose the path that you're on now and make that decision, because then it comes down to a decision, right? You made a decision.
For sure. Yeah.
It's kind of like, I always tell people, it doesn't take years to make millions of dollars. It takes a decision to decide you're going to make the millions of dollars. And then it's about 6 months of action. But Most
Yep.
people don't decide. They bitch, they complain, they talk about it, but they never actually decide enough's
Yeah.
enough. So
Yeah.
if you did not choose and you made a decision, if you did not choose the
Hmm.
path,
Mm.
who would I be talking to today? Like who would
You
Dave be
wouldn't, you,
today?
dude, you wouldn't be talking to me. You wouldn't be talking to me. And this is going to be offensive to a lot of people. And like I said, other people's opinions don't matter to me. We live in a sheep mentality, brother.
Yeah.
We live in a sheep mentality, right? We go with, just go along to get along. Look, dude,
Yeah.
relax. Go with the flow, right?
Yeah.
Go with the flow. So you see the wildebeest all jumping off the cliff, and the last wildebeest on the end of the run goes, I guess everybody else went. I'm going that way.
Yeah.
Look, you said something there that is critical. Make a decision, right? Moments of clarity and then decision. And once that decision is made, how do you then stick to that decision? What tools can you put in your tool belt? Because
Yeah.
for me, I was 36 years old when I turned the corner towards entrepreneurship. So I had at least 30 years. I was working as soon as I could pick something up and get paid for picking it up, right? So I got at least 30 years of that mentality. And please, I want everybody to understand, I'm not talking about moral stuff here. I'm not talking about right or wrong. I'm talking about decisions. It's not a moral issue that some guys work their whole lives and some families are based in a blue collar environment. That's not what I'm talking about. For me, it wasn't a fit. For me, it wasn't a fit. I was always living in a place of just discontent, and all I knew how to do was work harder, work more to be able to find some kind of contentment. And look, to dime myself out at the same time, I don't know that I'm content today, but at least I got some modicum of control over destiny because of it. So who would I be and where would I be? I would have lost my house. My credit would have shit the bed. I don't know if my wife would have stayed with me because I wasn't a husband. I wasn't a partner. Maybe I'd have child support of 300, 500, 700. My boys are 15 and 13 right now. So I'd still have a few more years of child support. Maybe I would have started drinking again. That would have just been a big red button and blown everything up. So, I believe that we all have some kind of skill set, some kind of unique gift that we can bring. And I don't care who you are, black, white, fat, thin, rich, poor, whatever it is where you come from doesn't matter. Identifying that gift and then having grace to bring it into the marketplace, I think, is what changes not only the individual's life, but the lives of people around them. That's what I believe, brother.
Yeah. So you said something interesting. You talked about, you having to make some changes and coming from a certain environment to a new environment.
Yeah.
I'm guessing there were quite a few things that you had to let go of to get to a level that you've never been. Like a lot of times you say, I've got to start doing this. I've got to start doing that. But I want to ask another question. What did you have to stop doing? Like belief pattern, like what are the things you had to stop? Because we don't know what we don't know. Right. And you jump in a pool, you don't know where you get wet first. You just get wet. And so the environments we're in, we don't realize, the frog in the boiling water and all these other scenarios. We always talk about what I need to start doing. Like, Dave, you need to start investing. You need to do this. But you also have to let go of some things. What did you have to let go of in order to level up?
Yeah. You're good at this, brother. You're good at this. You got game. You got game. No, it's good stuff. Look, it pulls it out, right? There's an analogy of success in entrepreneurship is like an iceberg, right? All anybody ever sees is the top of the iceberg, and they go, "Oh, look at them, they're successful." What they don't see underneath is the removal of all the distractions and the people that said that you can't, right? They might have come to you, and that's really it for me. It was changing my influences. I think there's some research, and I don't know if it's accurate or not, but it makes sense to me. We end up being the common denominator of the 5 people that we hang around with the most, right?
Yeah.
So as soon as I found a way in through real estate education to surround myself with people who were higher net worth individuals, who were entrepreneurs, who thought in a different way, by osmosis, by inference. I ended up changing that environment. Now, the hard part of that is the people that I was hanging around with no longer understood the journey I was on. They try to pull me back, pull me down. And then at the same time, that animosity begins to get built in there. And the people that you thought loved you no matter what, I'd die for you, brother. I'd die for you. Right? And the next minute it's like, do you see what that guy's doing? He's on a TV show. Who the hell does he think he is? Yeah. Right? I'll give you a perfect example. Chief of the fire department, when I was doing the TV show Flip in Boston, I'm still on the job. And the production company said to the chief of the department, we'd like to incorporate the fire department life in this show. What is it like for a guy who's a firefighter full time, also flipping houses on TV and making money? And the chief of the department at the time says to the production company, he says, we do not endorse firefighters working second jobs. Therefore, we have no interest in the fire department being highlighted on this show. Now, that was his commentary. Now, I look at that and I go, well, first of all, I worked for you when you were a captain, you donkey, and you worked 2 part-time jobs yourself while you were a captain. You were a rug layer and you were a plasterer, and now you're a chief, and all of a sudden I'm the bad guy, right? Number one. And then number two, what a shame. What a shame that the fire department's mission couldn't be highlighted on the inside. You know what I mean? It couldn't be shown as to the value that career can give to a community, and it wasn't that far after 9/11 either. You know what I mean? Everybody loved us back then, bro. Everybody loved us back then when the towers came down. But it just is what it is. For me, I've had to let all of that stuff go. So changing the people that influence me has been a real big part of it, Steve.
So let me ask you this: when you used to look at success and successful people, and you started getting into that realm, the TV show and the other things, is there a belief that you had that maybe could have, ruined you? A belief pattern that you had that all of a sudden you're like, I need to change this because this is not congruent with where I'm going.
Yeah, for sure. So they call it self-limiting beliefs, right? I'll give you an example. I would work an overtime shift in the fire department and maybe make $300, $400 after taxes for a 14-hour overnight shift, right? My very first real estate transaction, I had a check in my hand for $5,000. And I had a check in my hand, so $400 for 14 hours, or a check in my hand for $5,000. Okay. Let me tell you something. That's a KPI. That's a key indicator right there. That's a proof of concept, whatever you want to call it. And when that happened, right? When that happened, that changes a lot of the thinking patterns up here. Because if I reversed engineered, I think I'd maybe spent 5 hours, 10 hours tops on that transaction to make $5,000. So I'd gone from $400 for 14 hours to maybe $500 an hour to make that $5,000 check. Those kinds of things change a mindset dramatically. And here's one of the reasons why. It then creates an opportunity to tell and share with people who want to pull you down. Hey, you see this? I called it my shut up check, my first one. I took it to all the guys in the firehouse that said I couldn't do it. And who did I think I was? And I said, I can do it. You see this? Shut up. Shut up. Right? I'd show it because it's a change, man. It's where are you going? Dave, come back. You're one of us. Yeah. You're the cook in the firehouse, bro. Where you going? Where you going? With the Pats are on, or the Red Sox are playing. Where you going? What do you mean you're going upstairs to get on your computer and do some research or listen to a webinar or a seminar? Where are you going? So changing that environment, I think for me was a critical piece. I just self-limiting beliefs, believing that it's not possible, and to transition from there to possible. I'm going to be frank with you, brother. It takes a leap of faith. It takes a leap of faith. If you are that cerebral about every decision that you have to make, you won't ever get anywhere. You won't ever get anywhere. Yeah, get a checklist. understand you're covering the bases the best you can, but at some point you got to pull the trigger. And I was good at that.
One of the lessons that I learned was that not everybody wanted to see me succeed.
For
and
sure.
some of those people were, I would say, were friends. Some people you're related to. And, you're trying to better yourself, and selflessly you're thinking of bettering your family. But not everybody wants to see you successful. And I think a lot of it is because when they see you have the check for $5,000, they're going, well, shit, maybe I need to do something with my life.
Yeah.
It's easier for them to go, see, Dave, you failed. I told you should just be a firefighter with us and be that person. Right. And that's a hard thing, because you're getting out of your comfort zone. You're going into a new world that is you've never walked that territory. You've never walked down that path. You're reading about these people. You're watching these people with these big names and these big words they're using. And you're like, wow.
Yeah.
And you're, I guess in a way you're killing off the old version of yourself. Right. And but you're still living in that version. So it's gotta be hard. I know, as an airline pilot, very similar, very, very similar conversations to you. Now, I think that you, like myself, we get up every day and we're fighting for something, right? We are fighting to be a better version of ourselves. What is it that you're fighting for every day now?
Yeah, that's a great question too. Look, I fight for the people who invest alongside me today. So in my business today, in private equity and even on some single family stuff that I'll still touch every now and again, we do that with other people's money. So, I have an incredibly large responsibility for you. Steve says to me, "Hey, Dave, what you got going on?" I say, "Look, Steve, I'm doing this, 20 unit repositioning in Southwest Florida. There's an opportunity to put some money into it." Steve says, "Okay." I look at my retirement accounts. I can maybe squeeze 150, 200 out of there. What kind of return am I getting? I say, "Look, I can do a 3 to 5, maybe a 2 to 3 equity multiple on your money over 5 to 7 years. When are you going to retire?" "I'm going to retire in 10 years. You want to give this a go so you can juice up your retirement?" Steve says, "Yeah, I like that deal. Makes sense. I'll do it." Now I got to work that money, brother. I got to get up and go to war every single day. I got to fight the demons. I got to avoid the bad actors. I've got to stay in conservative underwriting. I've got to, so I don't take that lightly. It's funny, as I've progressed into the world of private equity and finance, there's a lot of people with no conscience, man. No conscience. And I'm like, how do you sleep at night? Like, I have a lot of restless nights when stuff doesn't go the way that we anticipated it to go. And we're dealing with market stresses. I'm like, I remember every conversation I had to get to that deal in the first place. So that drives me. I'm also driven by my faith today too. Like, I want to do good works. I want to, follow the big guy's plan as best I can and get out of my own way. And then my family, brother, that drives me every day. I don't know if you got kids, but a 15-year-old boy and a 13-year-old boy, bring it on. Let's go. You want to try the alpha dog position? Not in my house. Let me show you something. You know what I mean? So that drives me too.
Let me ask you. So listen, the real estate world, I'm very familiar with it. Do a lot of investing myself. And listen, everything is cyclical. There's summer,
for sure.
There's fall, there's winter, right? And it's kind of winter for a lot of people right now. How do you deliver bad news? Straight.
Just tell them, this is the bad news and this is why. If you leave, I saw this in the fire department. If you leave interested parties without information, they create it. They create it. They make
your brain will bridge that gap. Imagination.
Yeah. 100%. Imagination bridges the gap. So, when you're dealing with millions of dollars, you better have some pretty good communication, right? And it might not always be coming directly from me. It might be coming from operations. It might be coming in an email format. But you never respond quick enough for anybody with a question, number one. So you gotta educate
especially when money's at hand, God, right? Because it's so emotional for people.
Of course. I've had investors, pretty close to lunatics. And then, they get a check the next day for 10 grand or 15 grand or whatever, because the distributions were a little bit late, or, whatever or they missed them. I've had people
Yeah.
complain about not getting their money, and their money was returned to us because they didn't deposit it or cash a check. Well, what are you doing? Are you paying
Yeah.
attention? So, deliver that news concisely and early, and you save yourself a lot of grief.
So for you, like when it comes to freedom and defining that, for it's obviously different than it was as you as a firefighter. By then it may have just been weekends off, right? And those kinds of things.
Yeah.
What is your definition of freedom today? And has that changed over the years? Does it evolve?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about anybody else. If I can find some peace, and peace is a pretty broad spectrum as well, right? There's world peace, there's inner peace, there's outer peace, there's family peace, there's business peace. I find for me, if I can find an inner peace first, that creates some freedom for me. The ability to breathe before I act or react.
What is the version of success that you are now chasing? Like, what is Dave and the future Dave? What does your life look like moving forward?
Yeah, look, we're staying pretty busy. On the business side, commercial real estate is about to take a massive repositioning due to the amount of debt that's coming due, that's upside down. It's all that free COVID money and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So that creates a massive buying opportunity for us to execute on that. We are training individuals to do real estate investing, multifamily investing the way that we do. It's a low cost program that we put together to bring them through so that they can potentially partner with us, align with us. If they want our capital, they want our team, whatever. If the deal makes sense, then we'll help them with that. So that's taken up a big chunk of time, and it's firing. It's doing well. It's amazing how people see an opportunity when they get out of their own way and actually pull a trigger and make a decision, just like we were discussing earlier, right? Making a decision. Yeah, they do well. So that's taken up a lot of our time. On a personal level, it's staying on top of those boys. Trying to be the best father I can be for them. Staying close to my God, my faith, and trying to honor my wife. I mean, she's the glue, dude. She's, I can't. I pray I never take her take her for granted. I can't. So, those are the things. If I could do those right, dude, it's a good day, right? If my wife runs towards me and my kids don't run away from me, then I did good. You know what I mean? Good. I'm happy. Yeah. So yeah.
Do you have any regrets from the past you're still trying to let go of?
I don't really think of them as regrets. I don't know whether that comes with maturity. There are some people I trusted in business that I wished I hadn't. I didn't do enough due diligence. It's unfortunate that life takes you from, like, I always wanted everybody to be at 100 and lose points, right? Rather than be at 0 and gain points. But, life's kicked me enough times for me to know that, you got to earn trust. You got to earn a place at the table. So, I have some regrets around that. But how do you take a regret and make it a positive? Well, you learn the lesson, man. Screw me once, shame on you. Screw me twice, shame on me. So, you only get that once, brother. You only get to hurt me one time. So trying to forgive is always a good outlet for that too. So, yeah.
Nice. I like that. I like that. What's the rest of 2025 look like for you?
Stay alive in 25, get on the fix in 26. That's it.
I like that. That's it. You must have thought this through a couple times, huh?
Dude, it's a motto. It's a motto. You got to have direction, man. You can't just be, I don't know, we'll do a little of this and a little of that. No, stay alive through 25. Let's get to the end of it. Let the Fed, figure their silliness out. Let the Trumpster play his game, see where we end up, and then let's go back to work. Let's do some business.
Yeah, listen, I've been around quite a bit. You've been around quite a bit, and the one thing I know
Mm.
is the sun will come up tomorrow.
Always.
There will be good days, there will be bad days. It does not matter.
Yeah.
It's with every summer comes fall, which comes winter,
Yeah.
which comes spring, which comes summer again. And I
Yeah.
think people just don't realize. I think they got to the mindset of thinking it's always going to be summer, and they
Hmm.
never thought it would be winter
Hmm.
again. And I think now they're seeing winter. And I think it's
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
reality that I'm not going to say it's overdue, but I think it's like every cycle that every yin needs a yang, and I think every
Yeah.
summer needs a winter, and that's how we course
No, for
correct, right? And
sure.
that,
For
and I'm sure we're
sure.
seeing that in multiple industries.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. I always like the analogy too that, I grew up in England, I live in the States. So Christmas for us is cold. Well, Christmas
Right,
in Australia is on Bondi Beach. Right?
sunburn. Yep,
So there's a different season everywhere. I like the saying, people in life will come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime, right? And
very
if I
true.
can find the lifetime relationships, then we carry each other through these seasons, man.
Absolutely.
Lock arms,
Yeah,
buckle up, buttercup. Here we go. It's that kind of thing. Ladies
absolutely.
and gentlemen, please make sure that your seatbelt is fastened because we're going for a ride, said the
Going for a
pilot,
ride.
right?
Yeah,
Right? There's a little
100%.
bit of turbulence coming. There's a little bit, get in your seat, sit down, and buckle up.
That's right. That's right. Dave, so if people want to follow you and see more of what you're doing, maybe invest with you or have those conversations,
Yeah.
how do they find you?
Yeah, you can grab me on LinkedIn. Just punch in my name, Dave Seymour. You'll find me on LinkedIn. Freedomventure.com is our investment site. You got to know what you're doing. Otherwise, we don't bring your money in the door. But if you want to learn the business, then come visit us at legacyalliance.club. Or you can actually go to, my guys put something together here. It's called privateequitymasterclass.com. It's a free webinar. Log in there, get a flavor for what it is that we do. And, maybe we'll cross paths and do something together in the future. Who knows, right?
Love it,
You
man.
got to reach
That's
out and
awesome.
ask.
You
Yeah,
know what? If you don't ask, I guarantee you won't get. And so
that's
I'm a
right.
big believer in that
Yeah,
as well. So,
yeah.
Dave, man, thanks for being on, man. I really appreciate it. It's a breath of fresh air to hear what you're doing and
Yeah.
seeing people's transitions from
Mm.
who they were, whatever that was,
Yeah.
to. I just think I'm just seeing a little glimpse as you're passing by, and that's what I just like to kind of get a little sampling of
Mm.
who you are
Mm.
today, because who you're going to be is different than who you are today, and it's different than who you were. And I'm just
Yeah.
kind of trying to get a little bit of a, okay, who is this guy? So I do thank you for that, and I think a lot of our listeners are going to get a lot of insightful information out of this, and that you are living that American dream. Even though you're
Yeah.
British, but you're living the American dream that
I
you
got
are.
an American passport, brother. I'm a naturalized citizen.
You are. Yes, you are now. Yes, you are. So, man, thank you for being on, Dave. I appreciate it, brother. It's really, it's good to hear your story. Good to hear what you're doing. And it's a breath of fresh air, like I said, just to see people out there fighting the fight, doing the right things for the right reasons, to make a difference. So thank you for that, man.
Thank you, brother. It was a good call. Appreciate it.
Yeah. And for those of you watching another episode of High Stakes with Steve Rozenberg, we will have all of Dave's information in the show notes. So once again, on behalf of Dave with Freedom Ventures and myself, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you guys next week.